Kenyatta had briefed his small group again on their plan of escape. It was well thought out, and they had been over and over it in practice runs in the past. Now it was time to put it to use. Everybody followed Kenyatta into the airport. As he bypassed the ticket windows, he turned and joked with his followers. Now that sure in the hell would be a good waste of money, wouldn't it? He shifted the heavy black bag containing the money around to his left hand. All the black women carried large shoulder bags. Each couple had a certain amount of cash on them in case they ran into more trouble than they could handle and had to split. But none of them carried as much as Kenyatta did. They waited about 10 minutes until the regular passengers began boarding a non-stop flight to California. Kenyatta led his small dedicated group toward the loading ramp. The airport was set up in such a way that they didn't check for weapons until the passengers were going toward the ramp that led to the plane. Then you had to pass through a small space where they had a metal detector. Near the detector, a few guards stood around, looking bored, as they watched the metal detector to see if anyone was carrying a weapon. When Kenyatta's group reached the guards, there was no suspicion. Kenyatta's group was well-dressed and smiling. They came toward the detector slowly, acting as if they owned tickets. Then, suddenly, all hell broke loose. Kenyatta pulled out an automatic. He waved it at the group of guards as his people came rushing up beside him. With a wave of his hand, Red went rushing up the ramp. The sight of the black men trying to commandeer the plane sent the guards into action. As Red came rushing past, one of the guards tried to reach out and detain him with his outstretched arm, while another took a step back and pulled out his .38 police special from his shoulder holster. Neither man found success. The first guard took a bullet from Red's gun in the face. Blood flew everywhere as the white guard crumpled in a heap on the floor. His face had been replaced by a red gash. The young, attractive stewardess, who had been standing nearby, screamed loudly as she stared, horrified, at the dead man. As the second guard came out with his gun, Red's woman, Arlene, who was just a step behind her man, shot from the hip and took the guard by surprise. The first shot hit him high, the heavy slug smashing him viciously in the chest and spinning him around. The second shot took the back of the man's head off. The couple ran past, not bothering to take a second look as the object of their handiwork fell to the ground. "Everybody stay still," Kenyatta ordered loudly, "and won't nobody get hurt." As he spoke, a guard on Kenyatta's blind side made his move. As soon as the man reached for his weapon, Betty stepped around her man and raised the sawed-off shotgun she carried in her bag. The gun was cut so short that it was almost the same size as a pistol. She gave the guard both barrels. The shotgun kicked back in her hand so hard she damn near dropped the weapon. Both barrels at short range tore the man on the receiving end to pieces. His stomach and chest dissolved before the very eyes of the other watching men. Blood and guts flew everywhere. The sight of what the shotgun did froze the other guards in their tracks. Fear was written all over their faces. There was no doubt in their minds now as to whether or not the blacks meant business. Kenyatta backed up the ramp after taking the girl who had worked at the checkpoint as his shield. He stopped and waved Betty and the rest of the crowd past. They rushed up the ramp toward Red, who had the stewardess shaking from fear at the sight of his pistol. Kenyatta's measured words roared out over the airport. "You honkies had better pay heed, or we'll kill everything white on the plane." A dark flush stained his lean and shallow cheeks as rage glittered in his cold black eyes. The sight of the terrified white girl in the tall black man's arms made the guards hesitate. There was no doubt that he'd kill her. The guards held the weapons in check and allowed the wild-eyed Kenyatta to make his way on up the ramp. ADB stood at the top of the ramp waiting for him. He pointed two .38 short-nosed police specials at the white men standing at the bottom of the ramp. "That's right," Kenyatta roared as he backed into the airplane, followed closely by Eddie B. "If you don't want any dead passengers or stewardesses, keep your hands off them motherfucking guns." His voice carried all the way through the plane, causing a near panic among the already frightened passengers. The members of his gang had already taken complete command of the airplane.